I can't do this anymore. Left my past all on the floor. I've been trying to keep it moving, now we going north. Going up 2, 3, up 2, 3. Got this joy inside of me because I can't do this anymore. Left my past all on the floor. I've been trying to keep it moving, now we going north. Going up 2, 3, up 2, 3. Got this joy inside of me because I got the king. We've been really moving places, always on the low. I was shining in the tunnel cause I got the glow. People really hating and it really start to show, yeah. We gon' level up again cause that's just how we roll, yeah. Came in with the sauce, yeah. Learned out from the boss, yeah. I've been learning lessons from the struggles and the losses. Praying for communion for the races since we lost it. I done had enough of it for all the pain and cost anymore. Left my past all on the floor. I've been trying to keep it moving, now we going north. Going up 2, 3, up 2, 3. Got this joy inside of me.
What is going on, Ram fam? So, guess what it is? It is almost my anniversary. I've been doing this since like 2019. So that is the new intro that my son did for me. This is your second time viewing that. And I found an Air Force history fact for the day because I have my 7th veteran joining me today. So I have an Air Force fact, and then also there's a history that took place today. And what is a history? So Kamala Harris has become the official Democratic nominee, and we have had the largest, I think they said it was the largest, amount of hostages that was released today. So I have an Air Force veteran joining me today. So our Air Force history fact, according to airforcehistory.org, is on this day, 2 August 2024, in 1911, Miss Harriet Quimby earned the first pilot's license ever issued to a woman by the Aero Club of America, and the second ever earned anywhere by a woman. She received number 37 at Mineola. She had passed the test the day before, and you can read the rest for yourself at airforcehistory.org. So today I have with me Air Force veteran, Master Sergeant retired Robert Johnson III.
Greetings.
We call him DJ.
Yeah, that don't even sound right saying I'm a retired master sergeant and everything in there. I said, oh, I am retired. That's right.
Yes. How are you doing, BJ?
I'm doing just great. How you doing?
I'm all right. So I gotta pull up the video myself too. Give me just a moment. Just a moment because I don't have it ready. Let the people know where you from while I work on this.
Yes, for sure. So I am originally from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and born and raised there um, until until I pretty much went to college, went back home and said college is too expensive. Joined the Air Force, and then was in the Air Force for 23 years. Retired after that, and that's actually where I met both your husband and you while we were in our first duty station. And fun fact, I don't know if you was going to share this fact or not, was had the privilege of being in you guys' wedding. So yeah, that's some years ago. But sometimes I look at that picture. I started to bust that picture out and show it to the camera, but
No, I'll leave you with the I'll let you share that. Like I wasn't. I give you the glory of sharing that piece of information. Okay, so BJ, before we get started, everyone gets to answer these questions. I'm gonna start with. So you say you're from Milwaukee. I be forgetting that all the time. I think you're a Southern boy. Do you have siblings? And if so, what is your birth order?
Yes, I have siblings. I am the oldest. I have a brother through my mom, and from my through my father, I have two sisters and a brother, and I'm the oldest.
Are you familiar with the personality traits that they give to children? So what they say firstborns are like. Are you familiar with that?
Um, not really, not from a not from a social worker perspective.
All right, so I'm going to share this with you. Do you believe that these here characteristics of the firstborn, do you fit that? Does this describe you?
Yeah, for the most part, most of them, and the ones I wouldn't agree with, I've probably been called it before. So,
Well, what do you disagree with?
I wouldn't say I'm controlling. I'm cool with not being in charge or in control of something, so I wouldn't call it myself controlling. But I have been accused of that before, but that was just misinterpretation at the time. But it's fine.
Oh, a misinterpretation.
Yeah, yeah, and be transparent. So it was my wife and I were engaged. Which I didn't share that fact. So I've been married. It'd be 21 years, and we have three kids, 15, 12, and 9. But when we were engaged, we were with some other family of her family, and from that, with them seeing us interact, they used the term controlling. But what they heard was my wife, fiance at the time, was asking if I wanted to go and do something. And I said, nah, you can go ahead and go. I'm a little bit tired because I have been driving all that day to like go see her. And I was like, but you can go. I'm going to go to my hotel and get some rest. And they viewed, because she asked me, um, like she was asking for permission, but she wasn't asking for permission. She was simply asking, do I want to take part or go? And no different than if she was with me, where I was at, had visited me, I would have, asked her would she like to go do something. But they viewed it as controlling. But it was also a little bit of projection, because that those same individuals were a little bit controlling themselves. but
Okay, if you say so.
yeah,
Hey, that's your story, so you get to tell it.
yeah.
Okay, look, but if you say, "Hey, I'm tired," you want to go, it doesn't sound controlling to me. But
Yeah, because it wasn't much anything else interaction that for them to come to that conclusion. But it's good. Everybody can have their own opinion. That's fine.
project.
Long as my wife don't think so. I mean, if she do, then hey, I'll change. But she hasn't said that over at this time. She don't call me that at all. So
Projection is a strong thing. So
yeah.
okay, we gonna look. You might not need this. You might not need this icebreaker that I got here. But look, we're gonna do it anyway. We gonna do it anyway because Milwaukee is the Midwest, and I
I
have not had many. Well, I say it's the Midwest. Do you consider
I
it the Midwest?
I do say it's the Midwest. If I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong. Are you from like Missouri? Is it St. Louis that you're from, or where you
Close,
from?
close. I am from Alton, Illinois, or
Okay.
some people don't
Okay.
know us. I have to sometimes say East St. Louis. But yes.
Okay. That's where I got that from. Okay, yeah.
So
Yes, it
I
is the Midwest. I do call Milwaukee the Midwest. Yes.
okay. So I haven't had many fellow Midwesterners on.
No, and
So
you definitely haven't had any black people from Milwaukee. Although there are plenty, you probably know that. But everybody
yeah,
say black people in
yeah, I
Milwaukee,
got
black
plenty
people
of
everywhere.
family up there, plenty of family.
Yeah.
So do not worry about being politically correct. This is just about culture.
Mhm.
So what do you call these things? That's it. What do you call this when you see it? Okay.
All right. Water. Two.
so low?
Oh, well, I can try to talk louder. I mean, I guess. Shoe. Shopping cart. Um, basket. Wallet. Or or go back a coin purse. No, let me stop.
Okay. Coin purse.
That's
Okay.
what my grandma would have called. Get pass me my coin purse. Oh, never mind. It's here, my bro. But a purse. An alley.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I guess I would say foyer.
A who?
A foyer.
Oh, okay.
Um, what is that? An icy or is that sherbet?
Mm.
Was it pudding?
Sh- So, see, if I tell you, okay.
Well, you gotta have a better picture though. You can't be like
I
actually.
know it is blurry. Um, mm. First you said an icy. Okay. Sherbert.
Where can I get it from? Is that from like a ice cream truck
It's
or something?
it's a frozen thing, but see, sherbet is frozen too. You
Yeah.
don't get it from the store.
What you make it?
You can. So I'm gonna stick with your first thing when you said icy.
Whatever it is, we don't make that in Milwaukee. That's what
So
y'all
I'm gonna
make.
you said icy first. So we gonna go with icy. It's an
All right.
icy.
Or what you call it?
I call it an icy.
Okay. Okay.
I call it an icy or an ice cup.
Yeah. That's the icy or ice cup right there.
Mm-hmm.
That's a Kool-Aid cup. No, I'm just kidding. um, that's a boatload of stuff.
Okay.
That's a tank top, or a shirt, or a wife beater. Either one of them.
You call it all three of those things.
I've called it before, but I don't call it wife beater now. But I call it a shirt now.
When you was in Milwaukee before the Air Force, what did you call it?
Um, it probably was a tank top.
Okay. You trying to be political. I told you don't worry about being
No,
political.
no. Other people might have called it wife beater, but I just called it a tank top. But I didn't wear these shirts until I was away from home. I wore regular t-shirts or a V-neck t-shirt. That's what I wore.
Okay. All righty. Why don't tell me Mama Austin died? 'Cause that wouldn't be cool. Okay, there we go. All right.
I
All
said I
right.
was
We
waiting.
got
I was ready for some more. I
okay.
thought we had some more.
That was it. That was it. I wanted to make them longer, but then I was like, okay, so Amir said it's called a thrill. The thrill was the one that's in the cup. The
What?
the the icy, the ice cup.
Amir is from Georgia. That is not what we call it in the Midwest. He That's what y'all call it in Savannah. But
Yeah. Okay. So we are going to go ahead and get started with the actual interview questions. Thank you for participating in our icebreaker.
my pleasure. Although I don't believe I had a choice, but you're very welcome.
So, okay. So, as we know, you were in the Air Force. So, if you would please let us all know what was your job in the Air Force.
I originally was
Or
radio
you can say
maintenance.
MOS, whatever you
Yeah,
wanna.
yeah. Originally was radio maintenance, and then over the years it just merged and kept merging. Radio maintenance, then we merged with navigate with weather, I believe, and then we merged with navigational aids, repairing that, and then we merged with radar, and it ended up being an acronym called RAWS, Radar, Airfield, and Weather Systems. So we basically repaired anything that was under that umbrella, and then anything else they kind of threw in our lap. And so, but that was what my what my job was in the military.
Okay. And I know you say you retired. Did you say how long you served? How long did you serve?
Yes, 20. I said 23 years, but it was 24.
24. Why did you retire? Was it just time? What?
Um, it was a little bit of both. So at the time, it was what my higher tenure was, which is more now. But I'm glad I retired when I did. It was and it was time too. And had I not retired, I would have had orders to to go somewhere. Matter of fact, at towards the end of my what you call it, I actually had orders, but I didn't have enough retainability to fulfill those orders, so they got canceled.
Where did you have orders to?
To Korea, I was preparing and everything, but then I started just counting out like, well, if I get back, I won't have time at the end in order to have what you have your allotted time that you're allowed to be able to basically prepare for retirement. I wouldn't have had enough time, and so they said, yeah, you technically can't go then. So I mean, I wasn't complaining about it at all, but yeah,
And you were gonna actually stay in longer, huh?
no, just it's
If
still the
you
same.
if you had enough time to go to Korea, you was gonna actually do it.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I couldn't just retire, opt to retire, and not go because I was still in my window of, retainability or whatnot. So, we had it all planned out, ready. We was all prepped about it. I had, you know, prayed and everything. It was, it was fine with me. Um, I hadn't deployed since I was back in, I hadn't had to deploy since I was back in my early years in Georgia. Since I was in the mobility squadron, so I had my fair share of amount of deployments there, over five of them, and then I didn't have to deploy after that. Now I did different TDYs, but not like any short tour or anything. So, and I did long tours, but not a deployment. So that wasn't a deployment. It was a still a short tour, but you know I wasn't. We just would have did it.
You might come back to that. Maybe. Okay. So, like many of us, do you have any family members that served in the military?
Yeah, I have a bunch, probably more than I can probably count them all. But my paternal grandfather served. I got a uncle as well that served. I got a couple uncles on both sides of my family that serve. Um, so yeah, quite a number of folks. I got some cousins that served, been in the Air Force. I got a nephew that actually went into the Air Force for a short time as well. So um, quite a bit of people that serve.
And what made you decide to join?
I was just trying to get money for school. I was like, man, this college is expensive. How I owe $10,000 and I just been in college for 1 year. Well, and then just so happened I was at home for a break and a recruiter called me. I think the last time they called me, I told them they calling the wrong house, and they happened to call it again, a different recruiter. And I said, you know what? I'm gonna go and listen to what they got to say. And I went in and listened to what they got to say. They were talking about they give you money for school. I said, money for school? Hold on a second. And and then that was and then it was good. And I decided, you know what? I'm gonna give it a chance and and um and go ahead and do it. But I had kind of a small problem. Well, it wasn't really a small problem. They the recruiters kind of they be want you to lie a little bit if you've done certain things. So they was like, hey, have you ever done any drugs? And I was like, done any drugs? I was like, nah. I was like, well, I smoke weed. I guess we call that a drug, you know. I was like, well, when the last time you smoked? I was like, today. And then he was like, I was like, well, today, of course, but you talking about the last time I spoke today, or and and they wanted me to basically say I had only smoked like 6 times, and they had these fake dates. I was like, dude, I'm telling you now, when I go to the Mel's office, man, when I go down there, if they ask me, I don't remember those dates. I'm not gonna remember those dates. You know, I just let them know, hey, I smoke, but I don't smoke no more. I used to smoke, but you know, it's like, well, you gotta remember these dates. I'm like, oh well. It's like you can only have smoked 6 times in order to get in the Air Force. Well, I'm about to fail then, so we'll see what happens.
So okay, look, so I've been telling people, y'all gotta know that these recruiters is just all about the numbers. So look,
Yeah.
I guess BJ letting y'all know right now, like
Well, at
I'm
least
not
back then.
lying.
We're
I'm
talking
not
about 20
lying.
some years ago. Yeah, 20 years ago. I'm glad
No.
he I'm glad he didn't ask me if I ever sold drugs. I was like, hey man.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you probably I think you just answered the next question because you said, you was really just trying to go to school and all that, but you just said the recruiter. So the question is, was the Air Force your first choice?
Nah, I was actually in college. I went to college for a year. I was at the Rod Technical College. Probably the recruiter there lied too. Um, but uh, but I was there. So because it was a technical college, you know, it was away from home. It was actually in Addison, Illinois. I don't know if you're familiar with it, just outside of Chicago. And I was going there, and at one time it was where I kind of knew that I wasn't going to end up staying there. Was I was going to school, and you had we had roommates, and we were subleasing from basically the college, and then of course in order to make rent, you know, you gotta work. So ended up working about 3 jobs. I remember one time I had 3 jobs. I was working at McDonald's, I was working at UPS as temporary, and I was working at this place where you were calling, you were doing like overflow calls for people that was calling in like to JC Penney to make orders or things of that nature. And so I had these 3 jobs, and I'm full time in school, and I didn't know it at the time, but that's crazy. Um, and so I just knew. I said this ain't gonna work like this, because you know. And so I went for basically a whole year. Uh, Experienced some different, racist type acts being where I was at. Not really understanding fully, about racism the way I have uh, more knowledge about it now. But then went back, home, and worked a little bit until I was under the late enlistment program until I went into the military. And so that's basically how that how that happened. But when I say I didn't know much about racism, I didn't know that, for instance, Milwaukee was considered the most segregated city in America at the time. I didn't know that till I was gone years. But due to redlining, I wasn't even used to having a neighbor that didn't look like me. And so when I even went to college and had different neighbors, it was a little bit weird for me. It really was weird when I got in the military, until I understood, like, man, most people don't live like I live back in Milwaukee. And and then later understanding what all happened with redlining, and there's a trickle effect from anything that deals from a racist type of act that happens. There's always a trickle effect, as we experience through our nation, but cities and areas always experience that as well when they have different things that have happened within those areas too.
So when we get to that question, I'm quite certain that you will have a story to tell. Um, so is the Air Force recruiter, was he the first one that you decided whose call to answer?
Yeah, nobody else called me. I'm trying to think, did I take an ASVAB? I didn't take an ASVAB at that time, but when I did take it, nobody, Air Force was like, no, you need to come in the Air Force. But previous to that, nobody else was trying to recruit me. They had called me twice, Air Force, that was it.
Okay, okay. So walk us through the night before and the day that you left for basic training.
Oh man. Um, the night before, if I remember correctly, was um, that's probably the first time I saw my father cry. I didn't spend a whole lot of time um, with my father in my life, but he dropped me off at the MEPS, and he started crying. I was like, yo, what? He kind of threw me for a loop. Like I'm like, that's not the right time to throw me for this loop. Like going, going in and you crying for the first time. but but there was that, and then leaving. I remember. You said the day I left or the day after I got there. Which one was you asking?
The day that you left.
The day I left was I don't remember a whole lot about it. It just was like, I think I'm ready for this. This gonna be a good decision. Um, and then I probably should ask about like the day after I was there because I remember I had a nightmare. I woke up in the middle of the night, and you ever wake up before and you have a setting where you think you're there and you wake up, open your eyes, and it's like like your room or whatever. Well, I thought I was waking up in my room, and I woke up with like 50 dudes in the room. I was like, hold on, wait, what's going on? I did. That's not a dream. I really did go in the Air Force. So yeah, that was traumatizing in itself right there.
Do you remember what you did?
Um, I don't remember saying a whole lot because I also remember, throughout the time, like the first week when you're there, every night you hear somebody crying and somebody laughing, or whatever, or somebody saying, "Hey, man, it's gonna be all right." And then you hear somebody crying, and then um, they're downstairs at the CQ or whatever that's called. They hear it on the intercom. Be quiet up there, y'all quiet down. They try to get everybody quiet because it was lights out. But yeah, that's what I remember.
Mm. Well, this is now your 15 minutes. You get a whole 15 minutes. And if I have to ask you questions to help you, you got 15 minutes to just tell us about your career, your experience, whatever you want to share.
About my career and my experience. Wow. So my my experience was um probably no different than what many experience at their jobs. For me being a black man, um, I guess I came to realize a lot of things very soon from I don't want to call it what I would call it is it was a lot of things that seemed to be unfair. So being that me and Amir, your husband, that we were in the same squadron and it's our first duty station. We had things that were as well that were different that we experienced. So for me, an example is I had one supervisor, and this supervisor was
Hold
quite
on.
was
I already know I got to stop you. Because you're saying that this is your first duty station. People don't know where that is.
all right.
So
So
let's
so
let's
my so
let's
my
blow it. Well, you did say where we met.
yeah.
We both said where we met.
So
So
we were
let's
yeah.
guide them in.
Real
Where have you been
Robins.
stationed
Yeah.
and how many places you've been?
Well, hold on. I got 15 minutes. I can get all that in, but
Okay,
you just took like a
okay.
minute of it. No, I'm just kidding. So we were at Robins Air Force Base, and being there was my first duty station. Um, and yeah, my very first supervisor, and you have to do, which basically is a career. Your CDCs is basically your study material for your job. You have to still study once you get there and have to pass tests to basically show that you're proficient in the studying aspect. And so I'm there, and I went with another young lady who was in my technical school, which was technical school is where you learn your job, and we learned that in Keesler Air Force Base. So I went with another young lady who was white. We went together to the same squadron, and we get there pretty much exact same time. She has one supervisor. I have another supervisor. My supervisor is horrible. Her supervisor, I believe, was the same supervisor that Amir had when he got there. And so we get there. My supervisor basically tells me I have no time at work that I can do my CDCs to do my study. She's sitting there doing her getting study like an hour a day. I mean, I'm out working and she in there studying. And so I realized right away, oh, this is different. My first two EPRs, my performance reports, where he wrote me a 4 out of 5, but he couldn't give me a solid reason as to why he wrote me in that way. Um, and then I would have other people that were above him tell me to ask him why he didn't write me up for an award because they felt like I should have been written up. But instead of them addressing it, they're like trying to put me in the middle, but I don't realize that's really what's going on. And then I would ask him, and he would say stuff like, well, we didn't feel like you would win this time. Well, and I told him, well, that's not something you want to tell somebody in the future. So I know I'm your first troop, but don't tell somebody that you didn't feel like they would win. You want to put them in because you feel like that they done a great job that quarter. And and he would kind of say, well, I'm not the one getting the feedback here. You are. Well, you're getting it today, buddy. But I didn't realize then either that your feedback sessions are two-way communication, regardless of what your rank is. So I learned that after that experience. But hopefully he learned that too. And so next supervisor I had was fairly good. And so overall, that experience at Robins, while I had horrible supervisor initially, it's probably one of my most memorable experiences as being in the military because of the deployments you have. You get close to people. Um, you're out, you're working with them. You eat lunch with them. Even when we're working, even just like building pallets, you're learning. You're doing more than just like your normal job. You're doing things to help prepare when you're preparing to do your job as well. You know, and so that was the experience there. I noticed too, it seemed like it took me a while, what I felt like to make rank, and partly was due to myself. But then I started realizing this test wasn't even written for me. wasn't even written for me. So when I first started my career to the end of my career, they didn't even do testing anymore. Whereas at one point they were doing testing, but it wasn't written by somebody that looked like me. And so, the test, I may read the test and interpret it a different way. And a good example is how you just kind of did in the beginning of the session, where you said, hey, pronounce this. I'm sure your different guests may pronounce it differently or they call it something else. And so it's no different than when we're looking at a test. It can be a little bit different depending on who you are and how you learn, whatnot. But, it took, I guess, leadership to kind of understand that a little bit better and then kind of address that a little bit. Um, and so I just noticed things that was kind of unfair throughout the career. The bases I've been to after that, you know, been to um, been to McGuire Air Force Base in New Jersey, and then went to Elmendorf Air Force Base in Alaska, and then at Andrews Air Force Base, which is here in Maryland or close to DC. And so those are the only bases, which is actually not that many when you've been in the Air Force for 24 years. To basically be at 4 different places station wise. Each time it was about a little over 5 years, but my last base here was longer because I did a couple different assignments here, and so um, overall, like I say, it was pretty good experience. Um, you did notice like just the unfairness in different aspects. I'll give you one other example that we have, and this just kind of give viewers and people to kind of know how things can be a little bit different. When I made Master Sergeant my current or my final rank, they had they had this um, the Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force had, or let me say, the Air Force did this what's called a RAND study. They did a study, and what they wanted to study was they were considering taking away um, your they were considering taking away certain points that were used for promotion, but the specific points that they were looking at was time in service. They wanted to take those away. But when they did this study, what they saw was who that would affect most was people of color. So they knowingly knew that this would affect primarily people of color because it helped people of color to be able to make rank, whereas they take them longer to make rank if they didn't have these points. And that's the whole purpose. It helped to kind of bring it things kind of equally. It's not that they couldn't do a job or could if they were promoted that they wouldn't be able to fill that rank good. It's just that they weren't sometimes able to make it as fast when you talk about just based on points, as well as from people that might get better written EPRs. Example, like you say, when I just told you I had gotten what was called 4 out of 5 on my EPRs, the other work centers that were located in the same building we were at, the people that were in charge of their offices, they find out I got a 4, and they went, "How did you get a 4?" Because they knew that I worked very hard, and I did a good job. Um, I had even brought points up to like my supervisor at the time, like, "Hey." I was called what was called a fact chief, where basically you were in charge of a specific piece of equipment. You had to make sure you had needed everything that you needed rather for when you went to deploy. You had to make sure that you had all of that. And I was like, "Do you know how many fact chiefs you have that are airmen in our squadron?" I was the only one. He wasn't sure. He said, "Oh, I think you might be the Yeah, I am. I'm the only one." And at the time, I was even a A1C. I wasn't even a senior airman, which is an E3 and an E4. And I say, and I said, and we have two other airmen that outrank me in our shop, and they don't even have it. Why do they not have it? Oh, because we knew you would get it together, you would take care of it. It's like, yeah, exactly. I would have responsibility. That's what I'm hearing you say. But you giving me the responsibility. They outrank me, but I get the responsibility. In other words, I'm doing what they get paid to do. And then it was like, oh, well, I'm not the one here getting the feedback. You are. So that was the experience I was talking about there. Well, when we go back to where the Air Force knew that, taking away these points would affect primarily people of color, they still did it anyway. But it was also who was in the person kind of in charge at that time, which were our worst, in my opinion, probably the worst Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force, probably whoever it was. But nonetheless, taking away those points, it affected a lot of people. And so then, it became harder for people to make rank until you had the next Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force kind of do things to retroactively counterbalance that back again. And so it almost became where, and then one last thing was with the enlisted performance report, it used to be where as a supervisor, I would tell who my subordinate, what they needed to do in order to get that 5 out of 5 rating from me. And so that changed to where the supervisor now does not determine what the rating would be. Essentially, the commander has so many 5 out of 5s they can give, so many 4 out of 5s they can give, and then everybody else just pretty much get threes, 3 out of 5s, which was average. Or if you did something that was negative, you would get a 2 out of 5 or a 1 out of 5. But so essentially, the the um, the thing to assign or to give these ratings was taken out of the hands of the enlisted member and was put in the hands of an officer member. And so that was where parts of basically where I seen kind of what I would say again, the unfairness aspect of it. But you know, overall, I would not trade anything as far as experience wise. You know, I met my wife while in the Air Force. I gave my life to Christ while in the Air Force, and my kids were born while I was in the Air Force. So all of these kind of life accomplishments that happened, not to say they wouldn't have happened without me being in the Air Force, but it wouldn't be the same. So I'm thankful for all of that. And then even though I explained all these different experiences, I don't want to say they helped shape me. They really just helped me to be able to gain a lot of knowledge about how you can do things fairly, right? Helped me learn about biases, helped me learn even about my own biases and hey, how can I address those? And then help me as I go forward in different organizations and things that am a part of to help them as far as be better with whether it's with hiring, whether it's how we can be better and how we treat different parts of our organization to ensure that we have this fairness or um, this equity, so I say, um, throughout the organization. And so that is experience definitely helped me be able to kind of think out of the box and not just to think and, and 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 think just from my own perspective. I don't know if that's 15 minutes, but um, you know.
It's like a minute and a half short, but I mean, you did a very good job. Thank you very much. I'll have to, you. That's like all my questions right there. So someone's done interviews before. Um, but what I will do is for people who may view this in the future, um, can you explain exactly what a ground radio technician at cows, etc., what your job grew to be? Can you explain exactly what it is that you did?
Yeah, so essentially, first was more or less think of it as repairing radios that are used to communicate, primarily like radios that the pilot we use to talk to the air traffic controller. We repaired those. And then it grew to where you're repairing the navigational aid systems that are used, that the pilot uses in order to land safely, especially during the inclement weather. But you repaired those items. Also, the weather systems, those are used a great deal when it deals with uh, the flights and everything. Determine different things, but repairing the different weather systems that are on each runway and different places where we have weather systems and then it was the radar systems as well. The radar systems was used, and again, that's another system that may be used to land plane in inclement weather. Um, but we would use that as well as um, just for seeing overall the flights, different planes that may be in the area when you're, and then so those were mainly what that was. But then also as I progressed in rank, I worked in more management aspect. So whether it's managing people. My last job was unique. I worked while I was regular active duty RegAF person, as they would call it, regular Air Force. I worked in the Guard. For the Guard, there was a position that they had over there for a RegAF, and I worked there. And there I served where for a significant part of that time, I managed some of our deployable equipment that we have in the Guard at different bases, and then it was also helping setting up the training plans and different things, um, ensuring that different guardsmen in my career field was able to uh, go to class when they needed specific classes, whether it was tech school, because they may be in a guard and they may decide to do a career change, and they get a career change and they come in a career that I'm in, and then we would basically have we would slot them with a class, as soon as we could, so that they can go into class, but they're still in that hold that position in the guard, and then they go to class, and then then they complete their CDCs and everything after that. But yeah, so that was essentially um, what I did, and as far as career wise, and then went from full circle, working on equipment. One equipment item that we also worked on was um, at Robins Air Force Base was what we call a mobile tower. Work there where we can go set up anywhere, set an airfield up anywhere in the world. But we worked on that, and then at the end of my career, I went to where I was managing the very first piece of equipment that I worked on. I went to managing it across the guard. So that was interesting.
Okay.
Full circle moment.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So you've already let us know that you are a parent. You're a parent of three. So were you able to be present for the birth of your children?
Yes, I was. Thankfully, I was for sure. Um, uh, well, I don't want to say almost, but um, I didn't miss one, but I was close because the first one was a 4 hour labor, and then the second and the third ones were no medication, like less than an hour labor. So so it was close on that last one because I was taking one kid to school, and it was like, hey, she about to break my water. So I like, but hold on, just wait a second, I'm almost. As soon as I come in, then she was ready. So yeah.
All right. Yeah, and that's because you said that you didn't have any deployments since the mob, and then you said you had a lot of TDYs, or you did not have a lot of
Yeah, I
TDYs.
did have a lot of TDYs. Like when I was stationed in Alaska, we had to go to quite a few different TDY, different locations in Alaska for the job there, and being in Alaska, you can get stuck somewhere for like 2 weeks because of a snowstorm. So you know, but yeah, but I didn't miss any births at that time.
Okay, that's awesome. So you mentioned your kids and your marriage, and then getting saved while you're in the military. Um, does in any of those three, do you think that those shaped or affect your idea of parenting?
Yeah, absolutely. One, give my life to Christ, definitely. After after which was in 1999 in Saudi Arabia on a deployment, and after that, and then just trying to live for God after that, and then later getting married, um, and you know definitely shaped me as far as parenting, made me think about it, even from my parenting growing up, growing up without a father, and then trying to, you know, don't have a didn't have a template for being a father at all, and just having to really rely on God to help me in being a father. I'm sure I'll be telling my kids as they're older, like, hey, sorry, dad made some mistakes along the way, and I try to do my best, but I tell them now when I make mistakes and stuff, I'm not afraid to apologize or whatnot. But yeah, even the fact of being a husband, I tell my wife sometimes, hey, forgive me, sometimes I just don't get it right, so forgive me. I I ain't making no excuse, but just trying to make sure I can do the best I can. But I know I make mistakes, so forgive me when I do. So, but yeah, definitely shaped me to being a parent and trying to be a present parent as well. Like even when my dad, when I did see my dad, it wasn't like um, um, an emotional involvement. It may have been physically there in portions, but it was an emotional connection. And so, learning about that, how to be emotionally connected, physically there, and also spiritually, try to help as well. But just learning all of that and still always forever learning and whatnot. Learning each kid is different, and you gotta have time with each one and not just them all together. And they're all different. One may come tell you what they need, while another one won't tell you. You gotta learn what they need, and so all these different intricacies that I'm sure you see being a social worker, and but trying to learn all of that, and if you talk about what's up, bro? All of those things, like just trying to learn it and learning like from their love languages, how they hear, best. One of my kids, they learn best if I go and I touch the hand or touch the shoulder and talk to them. They'll hear me better than if I'm just like talking from across the room. So I got one. You don't have to ever tell them what what they need. She'll come tell me. She'll come, Dad. I don't know. Can can I come in here with you? So and then something I implemented during the pandemic, I had these little signs on the door, "Do not disturb," but they kind of know they really don't apply to them. No matter what I do, they'll knock. And I try to basically stop what I'm doing when I can get a break and get them my attention for whatever it is that they need at the time. So
Yeah, that's nice. Um, hmm. Yeah, I think you kind of answering them questions. Um, what is mm, mm. You covered so much, BG, I'm telling you. Um,
yeah,
I
my
want to
wife
do like a
like
checklist.
yeah, my wife
What
tell me I
is
talk too much. You just proving her right. No, I'm just kidding.
no,
I'm just kidding.
look, I'm saying it seems like you like you know how to do interviews. Like, yeah, you know. Look, I will say this though. See, if people say you talk too much, Amir also says I'm like a checklist person. See, so is this what we having a problem? Cause like I'm looking at my list, like no, cause you did so well, you know. I'm just like, how can I
That's
hear
good.
it? Okay, so but and also because you and Amir had the exact same job. See,
Yeah,
so okay,
to a degree. Now he had that
yeah,
stint.
to a degree, to a degree.
That stint. Now I'll talk about Amir a little bit. So Amir taught me something one time. He don't probably even know this. So Amir called me one time. He had a specific job. He said, "Hey man, I'm calling to see if
Recruit.
if you basically you think about you coming doing this job." I'm like, "Man, I don't know about doing that, man. It's one of those jobs where like top secret." And I was like, and my wife was like, "Well, I don't know how I feel about you having a job and you can't come home and talk about it." I was like, "Well, there's aspects I'm sure I could talk about." But what Amir taught me was, he said, "Hey man," he said, "I had a job, man. I got here, man. They put this amount of money in me. They invested in me." Basically, what he was saying was, I'm he was saying, I'm worth this. I ain't worried about them doing nothing. But basically, I know what I'm worth. It helped. I think it helped him to know, to understand even more what his worth was. And he felt like, well, when I was coming up, you trained me, man. I know you can do this job, you know. And I was like, but I don't know if I want to do this job, you know. And I didn't go and do it, but it made me think about, you know, uh, when a company or organization, what they put into me, um, and wherever I go now, I think about, you know, the investment aspect, you know, whether it's being invested in me, even in my current job, you know, I have a company vehicle. I added all of that together before I said yes to the job, you
Mhm.
know, where I knew what my salary was going to be, but I also accounted for, well, I ain't got to never pay for gas, you know, and I ain't never travel. I ain't gonna be putting miles on the vehicle, things of that nature, and so I added kind of all that in there, um, and so, but he helped me to look at, you know, the worth aspect, the knowing one what I'm worth, and then two. Um, Thinking about the investment aspect of stuff too. So yeah, he helped me with that.
Yeah, because because he said you helped shape him as a as a young airman. He played very vital. And this is your story.
Well, no, but it's
So
part. But see, me and the people I know. So that's the other thing about the military that was very. There's so many people that you meet, but there's some people that's like there's some everybody are like your friends that you meet, but there's some people that's just like family, like y'all always be family. I got so many people that, you know, family. Like my first roommate, you know, we family. Like my wife met him for the first time, you know, met him about 2 3 years ago, and you know, and both him and his wife was like, no, you know, well, they know me as BJ too. Nah, but BJ family, we family. Like, you know, we said the same thing about it, and it's weird because I was there when he met his wife, and his wife actually stayed with us for a short time. Like, you know, when we was at the end of where we was not being roommates, when our lease was like winding down and whatnot. But you know, it was just interesting. So, you know, she helped me surprise him. His wife helped me surprise him, and he's coming to the house. He's like, "Well, what's going on in here?" Oh my goodness, you know, I hadn't seen him in so long, you
yeah,
know. And so it was just that perspective. But yeah, so you know, it was part of my story. You know, I mean, it's part of my story. So yeah,
yeah. Since you say it's okay, and you started it off with the wedding. Um, yes, BJ is very vital to the Lee fam. Back then, the Westons. When I went ahead and I took his original name, and then later on I changed to his father's last name. That's why it's Lee. But so BJ, he was the DJ. He was one of the groomsmen. BJ was just like everything. He was like everything. So
I didn't even remember I was doing no DJing, but
yeah, he was the DJ at the freaking reception. Like he was everything. Um, but back to it. And so therefore at the retirement, he was the MC at my husband's retirement ceremony as well. So when you talk about full circle, it came back full
yeah,
circle.
no, for sure, for sure.
Yes. What is a misconception about the Air Force or your job? Like you can pick any one of those ones that you had that you would like for people to understand.
Everybody in the Air Force don't fly. Everybody don't fly. You know, and it ain't the Army. You know, you go home and well, you out there flying planes? Well, yeah, no, I'm not flying planes. How y'all doing that? How y'all doing in that Army? I'm not in the Army. It's not. It's not. You know, and knowing that they're all different. But I think one thing that's really good that I learned a great deal was the team aspect. You know, and knowing knowing a little bit about the team, previous to as from being on different sports teams, but the Air Force definitely help you learn the team aspect a great deal as well. So that was good. I learned um, learning that was a good aspect. And then another thing too, this helped me later for being a parent. It helped me when I learned how to. You can't talk to anybody, everyone the same way and expect the same results. And you can
Mhm.
break it down and say like, whether it's speaking their love language or whatnot. But I had to learn that with different subordinates. So I was very because of my experience from my first supervisor. I was I was I would I would at times say, hey, what you got going on right now, and then before I asked them to do something, right? If they got something more important going on, I'm gonna ask somebody else, right? And because my supervisor at the time when I was first supervisor, he never accounted for what I was had going on. Hey, Airman Johnson, can you go do this? I'm like, this dude asking me to go run here when I'm doing something more important than what he asking me, right? Then it was kind of funny because when he was getting ready to leave and go PCS, go to the next base, he was trying to get training on stuff that he never trained on that I had, but he didn't ask me for training. He was asking other people because he knew I would go train his butt. I would have trained him, but he was probably scared. Nonetheless, so I had to learn. I remember I had one subordinate. He asked me, he said, why every time you ask me to do something, you always say, hey, what you got going on? And then I explain it to him. And he said, well, sir, I'd appreciate it if you just tell me what you want me to do so I can just take care of it. But then I had to really start thinking. It was like, man, why am I not just thinking about this? This young man, he played football. He used to coaches telling him what to do, just like that. So from that point forward, I just would tell him what I needed, and he just take care of it. And so he's able to receive it better. But it helped me to learn you can't talk to everybody the exact same way and expect the same results. You have to learn, but it requires you to learn who they are to be able to get um, whatever the answer or get um, the them to hear you the best. You have to learn who they are, which that's a whole nother thing because one thing we struggle with nowadays is hearing. We struggle with hearing what each other's saying. We struggle with listening, and it requires us to listen, which can be hard sometimes for some people.
Hmm. Yeah. I'm thinking of when did you learn that? Like where were you when you learned that particular lesson about talking to people differently?
Yeah, I learned that when I was in New Jersey in McGuire Air Force Base, and I was a fresh staff sergeant, which is a E5. I was fresh, and I had to rate on 10 airmen. There was no other NCO, nobody else that had been Airman Leadership School where they can be a supervisor. But I had 10 airmen to rate on, and I had just put on staff sergeant, and I was basically made the NCOIC a master sergeant. Somebody that was at E7 was told he was no longer going to be the NCOIC NCO in charge of this work center, and that I was going to be. And I remember the captain at the time, my flight commander, called me to tell me this. I'm like, that don't even make sense. Like a person's supposed to be at E7, but he entrusted me to be the person in charge. And I could feel a certain kind of way about like, the fact that, I'm not getting paid to do that job essentially, but it was a great experience. But for him, it was like, hey, I trust you more than I trust this person running his work center. And we excelled in that work center, but I had to learning that and just learning how to talk with each of them. Um, it was probably one of my another one of my most memorable experiences was doing that for like that year time frame of just working with all these young airmen. Some of them I still talk to today. They call me. Some have even one is just about retired. He's on his terminal leave, and still talk to today and communicate with them. But it was it was really an honor, like being able to work in that environment. But learning that was key. Like I said, it helped me with my own kids, helped me just in life in general. But um, learning that, and essentially, what I learned was the importance of the importance of um, people's story. Because when you kind of know their story, it helps you overall. You have to listen to that, but once you know their story, it helps you to be able to talk and interact with them even better. So yeah.
So when we started, uh, you you were mentioning about how black men having similar stories, right? And the fact that you and Amir being having the same supervisor, and Amir shared, I don't remember
We were a little different. He
exactly
had,
what story he shared. I don't remember what story he shared here on YouTube, but of course I know his story
yeah,
at that shop. Like I know the story that he ah, I know some things that he went through.
right.
And so the lesson that you shared that you had to learn with that supervisor at that place, what Amir went through, you both being black men, I would have thought that you learning this particular lesson of learning to talk to troops differently and hear from them, that y'all learned that together.
Well,
Because as you spoke, I was thinking about some stuff that he did at Whiteman that was very similar.
right.
But
Yeah. Now, to be fair, I'm sure being at Robins kind of helped me as well, like learning what my experience was. Seeing different things happen. Right. I remember like Robins. One thing I learned was, you know, so Amir had a different supervisor. His supervisor was pretty cool. His supervisor listened to Tupac. Like, and not like fake. And he was white. He was like really like he probably listened to more rap than we did at the time. His supervisor. He be driving down the street burning rubber. Like, sorry, he burning rubber. Like, what in the world? Is this dude crazy? He was older too. Like, dude, you crazy. But but um but what I remember being in a work center and having the person in charge of the work center at the time. He called a shop meeting to talk to us about negative uh, mindsets and talking negative and things of that nature, right? But the problem I had was it wasn't to address anybody but one person. But you having a meeting about with everybody when you should be just talking with the one person. And I remember stopping him in his meeting and said, and let's just call it, let's just call this elephant out right now. Like, look, we all know you're talking about Sergeant such and such. So I don't know why we have everybody in this meeting right now. Because you having this conversation in the open with everybody is not fair to us. It's not fair to him, and it ain't fair to you either. Y'all need to be having this conversation on your own and handle it however you're gonna handle it. But definitely shouldn't be including all of us like we all doing it because we're not. And then somebody was like, "Yeah, I agree with that," and they said, "Yeah, you got a point." I just shut up after that, and then they can talk later. And I remember that problem didn't get fixed until I fixed it, which I never wanted to be the one to fix it. But I remember the staff sergeant. I was a senior airman, so he outranked me. We were out doing some work, and we were getting ready to go eat. Me and another young airman we had in our work center at the time. He was black man, and then we had somebody else come in, another black young man come from another work center. We were getting ready to go to to go eat, go to churches. Churches was on base, and he says, uh, "No, we were gonna go somewhere else." And he said, "That's gonna take you guys like forever. You guys can't go there." He's trying to tell us where we can go for lunch. He basically telling them, "You out there shooting the S, and you guys been out there shooting the S, and you come in and you're gonna go take an hour and a half lunch, which it wasn't gonna be an hour and a half." And he going all off. I'm like, this dude is nuts. Did he just say this in front of? We got company in here. He just got here cussing like this, and he snapped. And I said, "Hey, Sergeant such and such." I said, "You already been." I said, "Let me talk to you outside." No, you don't gotta talk to me outside. You can say whatever you gotta say to me right here. I was like,
You're
"Oh, this
killing
dude."
me with this voice.
I said, "Oh, this dude talking to the wrong one. He must don't know where I'm from." I was like, "All right, look." I said, "Well, I tried to talk to you outside, man to man. And you chose to have this conversation in here while we have company here. We got somebody from another squadron, but since you want to do this, this is what we're gonna do." So you've already been told before about your attitude. Your attitude stinks. And he's got a little smirk on his face. Yeah, well, I know sometimes. Okay, your time, you already talked. It's my turn right now. Your attitude stinks and it's horrible. And then the language you use is totally unacceptable. Who are you to try to tell us where to go eat at for lunch? I don't, even if this is your truth, you don't get to tell us where we go eat for lunch. You don't talk to nobody like that. Then we got somebody in here that's not even from here, and your attitude just stinks. It's horrible. I'm tired of it. I said, you know what? To, Today is the last day. This is the last day you're gonna talk to me or anybody else like that. He didn't talk to me like that really anyway, but I was like, this is the last day you're gonna have that attitude. Cause you know what? You've been given a chance to fix it, but I'm gonna fix it today. What are you gonna do? You gonna go tell Lieutenant? What's she gonna do? What's she gonna do? I was like, don't worry about it. But I guarantee you, this is the last day. We just left after that. They was like, dang man, you just dang, I ain't never seen nobody talk to him. I said, look man, I had to give it to him like it is. And what you gonna do? I'm gonna go talk to the first sergeant. So sure enough, we go eat. We leave. I go straight talk to the. Actually, I'll talk to somebody else first. He was like, "Man, sound like you did everything." Yeah, yeah, man. I said, "Yeah, you should go talk to the first sergeant. You did everything you should. You went through all the measures." So, soon as we in there talking, a knock on the door. It's the first sergeant. He did come down there just to come down there. I said, "Oh man, just the person we want to talk to." I talk to him. I tell him what's going on. And the first sergeant said to me, he said, "Hey, so what you want me to do about this? Airman Johnson, what you want me to do about this?" I said, "I just want him to stop." He said, "Okay, I'll tell you what." He said, "After today, I promise you, we're gonna make sure that this don't happen. He's gonna have to change, or it's gonna be either more drastic measures that's gonna happen." He said, "But I'm gonna tell you this too. Right now, what should have been happening is you should have been talking to him as a peer. You should be staff sergeant, and you need to do what you need to do, or study even more harder. But you should be a staff sergeant because the way you handle it was like great. But I'm being hard on you right now. You should be staff sergeant. You need to do what you gotta do to make rank. You know." And I was like, okay, fair enough. But just take care of that joker. And after that day, we ain't had no more problems. That dude was not being mean in there. Um, but all because I listened to him as supervisor telling us all, like talking to all of us, like because he's being passive aggressive. Like, dude, that's not gonna work, man. Just be straight to the point with the people. But yeah, so my experience there helped me overall, like how to deal with different situations. So even like today, knowing how to like deal with certain situations in my current job. So yeah, we probably was learning a lot of it at the same time, though, just all our experience. I mean, you know, but yeah, like I said, it was Air Force good experience. Wouldn't take anything away from it. Um, it was great. And great as it can be, I guess. I made it as great as it can be. I didn't look at it just from a negative perspective. I tried to learn a lot, whatever I could in every situation.
Oh, as you were talking, it reminded me of don't know if I'm gonna say valuable or important, but it's just a point that we talk about with well, more Amir than me, talk about with our oldest son, is that like the military is really, it's basically like college. And so how you handle that situation, do you think the fact that you came in at a slightly older age plays a part? Because you've had a little bit more experience, because most of us were 17, 18 years old. You've been to college a little bit, so you know how to be a little bit more mature and think about a situation, know how people should be um,
Yeah.
treated and things like that. Do you think that that kind of
Yeah.
plays a part?
I don't think that I don't think I thought about people as much at the time. But I think I was a little bit more mature just because of my background of growing up, being the oldest. Some of those points you brought up on the first traits of being the oldest, I had to grow up fast. It was my mom and me and my brother. Um, and, I had to learn to do a lot of things that, typical teenagers don't necessarily have to do. Like when I got my license, I was doing the grocery shopping. I was driving to go to the grocery store, getting stuff. My brother would come with me sometimes, but he just get me in trouble. I didn't like it when he went with me because he just throwing snacks in the doggone shopping cart. That's all he's doing is snacks and frozen pizza, and that's it. And then like, dude, we ain't supposed to have all this candy. Why you get all this candy? And I got to get yelled at when I get home. But um, but yeah, so that helped me um as I so when I'm having these different experiences, I felt like, just from the pressure of just being at home, that there was nothing that was like there was nothing that was bigger than like the pressure of like being at home, of, living with my mom. What I felt like it was nothing that really was more pressurized, I say, in my opinion. But then too, when I came in, I was just like this angry dude. Um, I was angry, didn't realize I was angry until after when I was in basic training. Actually, they had a nickname for me, and my nickname was Angry Man. And the thing is, in basic training, I rarely spoke, and so I said, well, I learned that one, I was angry, and two, that my countenance spoke. While I didn't speak, my countenance did speak. And so, after giving my life to Christ, is when I had asked God to show me why I was angry. Was I angry, or, why I was? And He basically showed me, I was angry at my father. And so I had to, one, ask for forgiveness from God, and process that. And then I had to let my dad know I forgave him. And so that was like another time where, he was very emotional, which was okay. But I had to learn. So that helped me to learn how to forgive without somebody asking me for forgiveness. So um, that was a whole process, and then it helped me overall now as a parent, and dealing with my own kids, especially like my son, to help him in processing his emotions. So it wasn't that I was necessarily angry initially. There was a root cause of where I felt disappointed because I didn't get the time that I felt like I wanted or I needed, but I didn't know how to tell my dad I needed that time when I was young because I didn't know that's what I needed, but that was what I needed. But and essentially it made me feel angry. So I have learned how to help with the emotional aspects, or emotional intelligence, to knowing where your emotions, what are you feeling? It's because what happens is, I think what a lot of people is, we have these different emotions that bring out something else, such as anger, but the anger is not the emotion, but we make it seem like that's what it is. And then even with young men or young black men, sometimes not knowing how to use their voice, right? I didn't know how to use my voice, so that was another part. I could have probably even handled the situation I explained a little bit better, but not knowing or not having the practice to kind of use my voice. So now I've had even now more practice to use my voice and how to say things about, how I feel or what I think should be the case. And so I try to help our kids now through that process of knowing what their emotions are, whether it's just asking them, hey, how was your day? Oh, it was great. Okay, well, why was it great? Well, it wasn't good. Well, why wasn't it good? What is something you think you could have did differently, or why did this make you feel this way? So asking them those questions, and then not to kind of mention a little bit. Having a degree as a counselor as well helps to a little bit of degree, although it's not like I have retained a whole lot of that. Like I'm not an active counselor at all, but I am, but not in a professional setting. So, but you know, so yeah, it's a whole lot there that that's helped me as far as the life experiences helped me as I've grown older and just continue to grow in those areas. But yeah,
Well, thank you for sharing all of it, practicing all of it, and ensuring that people are aware that there is nothing wrong with Black men, Black boys getting in touch with their emotions, fathers expressing their emotions to their sons and letting them know that it's okay.
yeah,
We got to
absolutely.
break those cycles, you know.
No, for sure.
So I think you wrapped it up pretty well. Just if there's anyone that's looking to join the Air Force or any branch, um, what would you like to tell them?
I would tell them to kind of to basically know what they would like to do. What are they looking to get out of it? Right? Well, I said for I went in specifically looking for money for school. I had I as my process went on and my years went on, I had more of a um, appreciation. Not that I didn't have it at first, but I had an appreciation for wanting to serve in my country. But at the same time, looking at what I can gain in my different whether it was work centers that I was in, how can I take these skills and become better. Whether if it's where I'm working in the work center and I have to give briefings, okay, well, I'm going to learn and get better at speaking in front of people. Um, and but know what you want to do. Like if you want to do a specific job, go in doing that specific job. Don't get deterred from a recruiter to say, hey, we only have these openings. Well, just wait until what you're looking for is open. Um, and then n- know also why you even want to do it in the first place, right? It's important and then look and see if is it possible that college can give you that same experience or um, essentially what you want to end up doing. Do you need the military or sometimes even a full-time college for that? Maybe it's a community college, or maybe it's where you're going to earn the certificates required for that profession. So it's knowing what you want to do, which can be hard at a young age. But no matter what, and deciding to go into the military, um, get the best out of it. Um, get the best out of it. Enjoy it while you're in it, and just get the most that you can out of it. I think that's what I would say as far as anybody looking to go into the military to try to get the most out of whatever branch they're going into.
Yeah. Um, what will you be doing for your self care after this?
After this, so um, being real transparent, so it's actually something that I'm going to be doing here very soon. although I've been saying it for the last half a year or so. But I'm going to be going into counseling. I think it's really something that I need. Um, Not, I don't feel like there's anything kind of like pre preventing me from doing anything. Like, I just feel like it's just some things I need to like get out that I probably don't even realize yet that I need to get out. Just growing up, I think I know for sure I grew up in PTSD environment growing up. I used to tell people when I grew up, I heard gunshots more days than I didn't, in a year. And so, and that's not normal, but I just thought that was normal. And so, you know, but that's something that I'm going to be doing myself. But something I often do is pray and have conversations as well. I've got people that I reach out to that can help me. And I've learned to do what's called puzzle piece. So um, there may not be one person I can go talk to about everything other than God I can do that with, but people here on earth, there's not one person I can just go talk to about everything. But there are people that I can go talk to about parenting, somebody I can talk to about finances, or somebody I can talk to about being a spouse, and so I puzzle piece those pieces together for to talk to the people I need for whatever situation might be. And so it's the same thing when you're maybe on your job and you're dealing with like mentorship and things of that nature. There's people who you can talk to about leadership and talk about other areas, but you're just knowing who you can go to or finding a person that you can go to for the specific areas you need. But so that's me as far as when it pertains to self care. Uh, and I'll be a little bit of entertainment tomorrow. We'll be watching the big fight. So yeah,
Okay, good. Thanks for sharing that.
yeah,
Yeah. And I actually we just spoke about urban trauma recently, which is what's
mm,
more specifically what you were talking about growing up hearing the gunshots.
yeah.
So hopefully we can have a part two of that conversation, and yeah, maybe you can join in on that.
All
Um,
right, just let me know.
yeah. So, do you happen to have any social media or resources that you would like to share with any lay people?
Um, I don't even think I got nothing right here somewhere. But yeah, I got resource. Let me see. I think it's the wrong one. Yeah. Yeah, I have the happen to have authored a book. It's called
It's
Cultivate Your. Yeah, it's all right. It's called Cultivate Your Soul, and it is I'll set it up like this. It's called Cultivate Your Soul, and you get it off of Amazon. It's a 30-day devotional. It's a devotional that I had the privilege of writing. It started off where it was something I was doing for myself as far as writing something down as far as getting out what I needed to get out at the time, and the Lord um, had me turn it into a devotional, and so um, I, like I say, you can anybody could purchase that if they would like, and then on social media wise, um, I don't even know what my page is, but just basically on Facebook. I think I have some on Instagram, and my my it's just yeah, Robert Johnson. You can tag and put it in there if you want on there. Um, but yeah, that's I'll put in. I'll maybe do a post every now and then, something to try to just say things more or less inspirational. Or for the most part, I try not to be negative or divisive at all. I just feel like it's too much of that already. I just those that maybe know me, I just rather hear specifically something that's going to be positive. Plus, as many times I want to type something out or see something, I'm like, nah, I'm not going to do that. So, um, but yeah.
Okay, BJ. Well, I thank you for your time, and I thank everybody for watching. And those who will be watching this later on. And so with that, don't you log off. Thank y'all for watching. I hope that you enjoyed today's episode. I would like to thank my guests for joining me, or simply thank you for watching the pre-recorded episode. No matter what your birth order is, how you self-identify, and whether you like pancakes or waffles. If this is the first time you're hearing it today, I want you to know that you are loved. You were put here for a purpose that only you can fulfill. Until next time, take care of yourself. Be sure that you like and share the videos, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notifications bell. This is RealRam out.